In any startup, the employee in hiring, even though many people always say it, but it's so true, is the most critical thing you can do in a company to determine its success. I think hiring is exceptionally important, and in fact we try and have every new employee interviewed by almost everybody in the company. Certainly I try and meet almost every new hiree, no matter how big you get. At a certain point obviously it doesn't scale, but culture is such an important thing. When we look at an employee, obviously we look at professional fit, look at skill sets. There's a certain set of speed and techniques and experience that we look for. So we do the due diligence and filter all of that out to make sure there's a level of proficiency there. In fact, we do try and be a little bit selective. So you always have to balance how fast you're growing with making sure that you bring in top-notch people as much as possible. So in fact, we hired very slowly initially because we wanted the bar and caliber of our team to be exceptional. We wanted every person to be viewed out from the outside as the best of the best. And we've tried to hold to that. As you expand the team, you have to make some compromises and you have to kind of figure out what roles require what level of expertise and those things. But once you get that baseline, look for caliber, look for skill, look for clock speed, intelligence, look for professional proficiency in what you're trying to do. The most important thing for me is cultural fit. How energetic, how motivated, how enthusiastic is the person? Because at the end of the day, you've got to work hard with these people. How much responsibility is that person willing to take, and have they shown that type of responsibility in the past? That's the most important thing. So I always look for experience in the past where they had responsibility, where they worked for startup. And entrepreneurial makeup is exceptionally important, because you can have a great person coming from a large company. It'll be very difficult for them with all good intent to adjust to the speed and lack of structure in a startup. So we look for that. I tell people the number one thing I look for is attitude, somebody who themselves brings passion and energy and enthusiasm to what they're doing, who has a desire to win at all costs. Doesn't have to be a rah-rah person, but actually leads by example. If you're focused, working hard, enthusiastic, trying to do everything you can to make the company win, other people will see that, and that energy infuses around the entire company. And secondly, I look for people who just get things done. In a startup, things are moving so fast. Either you don't have structure and clarity, or people are moving so fast they can't sit down and put that structure and clarity in for a person. So people need to be smart enough and responsible enough and driven enough to take a problem, figure the solution out, and then drive it to results aggressively, violently. That's the most important thing, and get stuff done. And generally when we ask somebody to leave, or we have a problem with somebody in the company, and we have had people have to go and just for cultural misfits, it's because it wasn't that they weren't smart, or that they weren't kind of skilled in what they were doing, or that they weren't delivering value. It's that they weren't moving fast enough, they weren't bringing the type of enthusiasm and energy that we needed from a cultural point of view. And those are generally when we push somebody out of the company and just say, look, this isn't a good fit. Much more than kind of any gap in what they're doing or how they're doing it. I think at different levels you have different interview questions. I actually only ask really two questions that are all kind of part of the same question. Number one, I ask somebody how they heard of us, get a sense of whether it was a referral, whether it was just a call, or whether they actually sought out and have a bias towards looking for entrepreneurial experiences. It tells a lot about a person who's looking out to move to a startup, especially a small startup with risk, how they sought you out, how they found you. Those are important things just to get a sense of how interested they are. The second thing is I give them a little blurb on the company, but not a lot, and then I ask them, what excites you about the company? Why are you interested in joining us versus what you were doing? That tells me a lot about, were they passionate enough to look into the company? Have they come with an open mind? How fast does their mind think? What they say doesn't really matter, but the fact that they put enthusiasm, you can see energy coming out of a person if it's there. And if they're really truly driven about being a part of a startup, excited about an idea, excited about it building something really, really big, it'll come out in that question alone, and especially if you don't give them a lot of prompting and structure to it. So quite frankly, that's what I do. By the time I get to interview anybody in the company, we've already done the base filter of whether they're a professional fit and whether they're smart. We try to make sure that we don't bring in anybody who isn't professionally fit, a professional fit or smart, by the time we get into the interview.